started.
I saw a pop-up and I lost it.
What's up, guys? I'm Aaron here with my co-host Corey.
What's going on, everybody?
We're here to start a new podcast, and primarily in this podcast, what we'll talk about just music in general, primarily hip hop and R&B, but we'll talk about other kinds of music once we get into that realm. But I'm gonna start off with introducing myself. The guy talking here, I'm Aaron. I'm 18. I go to college. I'm a computer science major. Used to play soccer. Don't do it anymore, sadly, but it is what it is.
I'm Corey. I'm 20, about to turn 21. I'm also currently in college. I'm also working full-time. Used to play sports. I still love playing sports and watching sports. And I think the big thing that me and Aaron wanted to start, and we've been talking about this for a while, is getting into a music podcast.
Definitely.
So like he talked about, we're kind of going to get into what we want and what to kind of expect from us. And then we're going to kind of talk about and review track by track the Weeknd's new album that dropped last night, Dawn FM.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely a great album. We'll kind of, like I said, track by track, kind of dive into those in more detail. So, this is very exciting. It's obviously something we want to do for a while, and what a better way to start it off with the new year with a great album like this. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. So some content to expect from us. Basically, on podcasts, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna have like a straight maybe hour 15, hour 30, like just talking about certain things, like certain topics that we kind of bring up in our video plans or whatnot. And we'll split certain parts from the podcast into separate videos on our YouTube channel. And what we also want to plan to do is set up a TikTok and put like smaller clips on there. Just some things we want to like share and some smaller things we want to share, so you don't have to watch like a 30-minute video.
Yeah, kind of do that like throughout the week, just kind of put a little clip out, maybe a couple clips a day, just to keep you guys kind of in the loop with our podcast. You don't, like he said, you don't have to watch the whole hour and 30, and kind of give you some info and some stuff to continue to watch throughout the week. But yeah, some things we kind of want to focus on, especially with this podcast. We're kind of gonna get into not an album review, but like go down track by track with the Weeknd's new album and kind of talk about what we like, what we dislike. Some other things coming up. We've got some albums that we definitely want to like review and talk about, so we'll kind of do some album warm-ups for that, talk about what we expect from that artist and from the album itself. Doing different song reactions from artists we like, getting into some tier lists, so just kind of ranking albums that we like in the past, ranking songs.
Or just like ranking artists in general and like certain things about them.
Whatever we come and decide to like, we'll kind of give you guys the best content we can for that, and based off of what we like. So I personally am more of an R&B and kind of pop guy.
Yeah.
And Aaron, you're more of a hip-hop and rap guy. So what we kind of want to work in is some cross-genre, either live review reactions or just reactions in general. So say I give Aaron an R&B or pop album to listen to that he hasn't heard, but I have, and it'd be kind of cool to just kind of get his live reaction to that, and we can kind of just react to that overall. And then, lastly, talking about hip-hop and R&B and all that stuff overall, just giving you guys content every week is our main goal. So yeah, we're excited. Definitely excited.
Very excited here, especially for like the cross-genre stuff, because I've always wanted to I like getting into music. I like getting into new music and just kind of figuring out what I like, especially for different genres. Since I'm so like closeted in hip-hop and R&B and stuff like that, I don't listen to much pop or much like other genres of music like rock. I don't think both of us listen to rock often.
Not at all.
I do listen like some. I do have a vinyl of an album I fucking love that's rock and stuff like that, but I haven't really delved into it like I'd like to. I feel like we could get some good videos up for the cross-genre stuff where we present, like, let's say I present a hip-hop album to Corey and he reacts to it. I just kind of watch his reaction, kind of get his thoughts and ideas on it, and he'll do the same to me. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting like topic to go over. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be cool because there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of stuff that Aaron loves that I just don't even listen to. And it's kind of like not only just giving you guys content, but expanding our music knowledge as well, and kind of hearing what you guys have to say as well, and kind of expanding and building off of each other's knowledge for different genres. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how we can expand throughout the course of the year.
Definitely, and music's definitely a passion for both of us. So
Absolutely.
like, especially in our own genres, we fucking love our genre, and we love everything that comes out of it. So like being able to share that with someone else is fucking great. So.
Yeah, 100%, man. So yeah, let's get fucking into it. Me personally, this is the first Weeknd album that I have dove into start from finish. I've barely been through his old discography start from finish. Obviously, I've heard, kind of more of his mainstream albums and singles. But yeah, last night was the first time I actually sat down at midnight when it released and kind of dove into it in a more detailed way. So I was very excited to do that, and it really didn't disappoint at all.
Yeah, and me on the other hand, I absolutely love The Weeknd. I've delved into his discography. I've researched and looked into a lot of his albums, and he's definitely like one of my favorite artists ever. So being able to experience this album like as soon as it came out, especially with my brother who hasn't done something like this, it was a pretty surreal experience. It was pretty dope. So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you before we kind of talk about it track by track. How excited were you for this album, and
God,
did it really live up to the hype? Did it live up to your expectations?
I was insanely excited, and I didn't know it was dropping so early in the year. I expected to wait like a little while, but I saw a community post on The Weeknd's like YouTube talking about how he was like, "Fuck it, let's just drop it as soon as possible." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'd fucking love that." So, like the trailer, like the rollout was pretty quick. I mean, like he dropped one single, "Take My Breath," and that was last year.
I didn't even know it was out.
Yeah.
I never heard it. That's a crazy thing.
That was literally last year, and he dropped that. And then we have a very quick rollout. Usually, it's kind of different from what The Weeknd does. He has pretty somewhat decently long rollout, and then he drops the album. But this one was quick. Went right into it. I watched the trailer. We'll get into the song later, but there's this one production that really stood out to me. And when I heard it the first time, I flipped shit. So I was really excited.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to see like what he had, what story he had, how he'll take like the After Hours 80 inspired music and how he'll kind of expand on it in the sequel to After Hours. So
absolutely. So I think we're ready to dive into it.
Let's do it.
The Weeknd's Dawn FM 16 track album. What studio album is this for him?
Let me look it up. I don't actually remember.
This is definitely a question for you. I know he's been in the game for a while.
It's actually his 5th studio album.
Really? Okay.
So if you don't include like his first 3 mixtapes, which eventually were turned into like an album, I'm pretty sure this is his 5th.
Yeah, and guys, just so you know, a lot of this album, I'll go ahead and say, is kind of reminiscent off of his last album, After Hours, which is an album other than, kind of rollout songs I haven't heard at all. I haven't listened to it start to finish. I haven't dove into the concept of it at all.
And definitely, like every time there was like a reminiscent point in the lyric, I'd have to point it out. Definitely, it was really interesting to see, especially for someone who's listened to all of The Weeknd stuff and absolutely loves The Weeknd. It was amazing just to hear a lot of stuff. So
absolutely. So we're gonna dive into track number 1, Dawn FM. This was the intro song. Just kind of give me your thoughts on how you thought the intro song was for this album.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it really sets the tone. Like first thing, the instrumental at first, it sounds like the sun's rising. Like it takes place immediately after Hours and that crazy night he had and the drug-fueled antics and stuff like that. You can hear crickets chirping. Another point there. Starts off with just amazing vocals from The Weeknd. It matches like the instrumental insanely well. Like The Weeknd always finds a way to match his production perfectly. So that's one thing I love about him. And then we get into Jim Carrey. Oh man, gosh, dude.
Dude, anytime you can get Jim Carrey on anything, especially to pretty much be a part of your whole entire album and the whole concept of it.
Legendary.
And that's literally what I wrote down. Jim Carrey's literally a legend, and to get him on this is massive.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And like one thing I wrote as I was listening to this is I was hoping to hear like him throughout like the intro, outro of like many tracks throughout the album, and we end up getting that. And that's something I absolutely loved.
He wasn't just in the intro; he was there throughout a lot of the album. He even popped up in what song was that? Where he popped up out of nowhere, and we kind of just laughed because it's so funny just to hear him.
I think it was Out of Time.
Yeah, at the end, Out of Time. But,
it was awesome, man.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but yeah, Dawn FM, the intro was a very good intro to very, very strong start to kick off the album.
Hold on, before we like move on, we got one more thing to say, but
go for it.
So like we talked about how reminiscent this whole album is, and like hearing Jim Carrey say like something like "You've been in the dark way too long," just alluding to all the Weeknd's past. That's something I find really cool. Like how it really sets up the theme for the album, where he reminisces on his old ways, how he used to be in his past, and how he like dwells on his mistakes. But at the end of the album, we eventually kind of get like a somewhat of a conclusion from Jim Carrey himself, which is amazing. He spits bars in that last track, but he kind of just like sums it all up and says, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, we'll dive into the whole concept. And,
it's a great outro.
Yeah, for sure. Track number 2, Gasoline. The first thing I kind of noticed was the 5 a.m. reference kind of to the hills.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
That's a legendary song for the Weeknd. One I have loved. It's one of my favorite Weeknd songs ever.
Definitely.
Kind of just talking about what kind of state of mind he was at, whether he's high or whatever, and he's always like wanting to reach out to this one person, and he's trying to get out from doing that. He's trying to like grow and build,
but he keeps constantly doing it. It's like endless loop.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's how I kind of kicked off right away. I noticed that line and kind of what it meant. So another thing, the voice transition from verses to the chorus, very smooth, very intriguing. I love the transitions from verse to chorus. And I wrote this down. This is kind of interesting. This is kind of what I thought of it. The lower pitched voice at the start of the song gave me major John Bellion vibes.
Oh yeah,
John
definitely.
Bellion he wrote one of my favorite albums ever.
Yes,
I just got a very good a John Bellion vibe out of it. It was very catchy, a very unique song in terms of the Weeknd overall. So you can kind of give your feedback on. Gasoline.
Yes. So like talking about the verse again is something just so different. Like I don't think I've heard the Weeknd do something like that with his voice, waking up from like a hangover, or if he's still high or he's still drunk, in the morning like that, after a crazy night, which that crazy night was after hours. It was cool. It was nice to see that kind of references the old album. And what else is there? Dark. Yeah, obviously a lot of the lyrics are dark, resembling like past thoughts from the night. And there was one use of symbolism I thought was pretty cool. Obviously, like the song track "Gasoline." So I kind of looked it up. I kind of looked into it more because I didn't catch it at first, but I had a feeling it was a symbolism for something. So I wrote that down, and later I looked it up. The symbolism for wanting to burn his past ties from his old life whenever he passes. He wants this girl he's talking to, or he's calling 5 a.m. in the morning, to kind of just like burn him in gasoline and sever his old ties. And he wants her to help him do that.
Yeah, that's a crazy kind of like metaphor right there. I didn't catch that with the title. But
definitely.
That's definitely crazy.
Yeah, I'll be honest. At first, I didn't like this track as much as I was hoping.
Yeah, either did I. And as I kind of listened to it the second and third time, it definitely grew on me, especially for it being the second track of the album. I agree with that for sure.
Definitely. I think it was a good kind of track to just intro everything, intro what the album's going to be like, and kind of the whole vibe of it. It was nice.
Yeah, so getting on into track number 3, How Do I Make You Love Me? This was one of his better, I'd say, vocal performances, in my opinion. And he had this break between the pre-chorus and the chorus that really caught my eye.
I was going to mention that. That was absolutely beautiful. Just the use of the 80s synths and just the whole 80s like vibe. The Weeknd always pulls it off, in my opinion. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very interesting there for sure. That was one I didn't really have a whole lot written down for, but getting into track number 4, I think everyone sees this as the hit single, Take My Breath.
The blinding lights of this album.
Yeah, I mean, we get an extended version here. Kind of go through why you thought the extended version was a good add to the album and in relation to just having the regular Take My Breath.
Well, I mean,
you kind of talked about how you think it's good for like just playing in like certain clubs and parties and all that.
Definitely. I mean, I probably won't listen to the extended version because it really does take a pretty long while to build up. It really does build anticipation, but I kind of just want to get to that first verse and get into the song because the song is just, it's just amazing, dude.
Yeah, I think this will go down as probably one of the more catchier songs. Obviously, probably one of the more popular songs that everyone listens to. Very smooth transitions, I thought. I did think the breaks were also kind of too lengthy for my liking.
Yeah.
But I can see why he kind of added this extended version to the album. But overall, I think this is one of the more catchier and intriguing songs to listen to, and it'll probably go down as his biggest hit of the album.
Yeah, definitely. And like, one thing I was wondering is like, what was the point of adding an extended version? Maybe it was just for like adding it to like a club playlist or something like
Yeah.
that, or like a dance playlist or a party playlist. I don't know. It's kind of a weird move. I guess putting it in the album like that, I wouldn't say it kills the vibe. It still adds to it, obviously, because listening to that build up and that anticipation is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll definitely find myself listening to just a single version more, just because it gets into it quicker, and I want to hear that first verse. I want to hear that amazing chorus.
Yeah,
So
for sure. On to track number 5, Sacrifice. This song really shows off how versatile his voice was. You could hear it right away. Just the different tones he can have in his voice, and I think lyrically he's finally coming to terms with kind of sacrificing, which is kind of the metaphor I found, sacrificing being reliant on others and kind of realizing that he's on his own, and he kind of stated that in one of the verses, I think.
definitely.
It's definitely a very relatable song to people our age, because we got to kind of figure shit out on our own. We're in the stage where we're kind of growing up and we're doing a lot of stuff on our own. So I think lyrically, so far, at this point was one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, and like anyone can take a song the way it is. I definitely take it as that. There's many ways a lot of these songs can be taken. Which is one of the best things about this album and The Weeknd's music. Another thing, I feel like why he put a music video out for this song first, and why he went more lyrically into this song and had it near the top of the album, of the track list. His album rollout got a lot of criticism. So especially Take My Breath and the album cover, which is I like it now. At first, I mean, it was memed. It's still gonna be memed upon. That's just how it is. But he was getting some backlash for that stuff, and he didn't really give a damn. He kept doing what he wanted to do, and that's something I think he wouldn't have done before in his old ways. He kind of would have caved into peer pressure, but
I think it's a sign of him trying to show growth.
Yes, definitely.
Kind of not spoken about in the songs, but yeah, it's another metaphor of him trying to grow on his own, and yeah, I mean, that's a great little take on that. But yeah, if we're done talking about that one, on to track number 6, "A Tale" by Quincy, is
very
an interlude, I would say.
Very heartfelt
Quincy James.
tale. Yeah.
Kind of talks about his background, growing up without a mother. I think he talks about how he witnessed his mother getting taken out in a straitjacket.
Yeah. You said Quincy James?
I think I wrote down. Yeah, I wrote down. It looks like Jones.
I'm pretty sure it's Jones. Yeah.
It looks like James on my thing. I mean Quincy Jones, but the line that stuck out to me that I wrote down was "Looking back is a bitch in it."
That's the same line I wrote down, dude.
It's a symbolism for the whole album. Just The Weeknd always looking back on his past failures, and he's always kind of getting trapped in that.
Yep.
He can't really push forward.
Keeps putting himself into a loop. He keeps doing it over and over again. I feel like this album is his resolution, where he finally figures out, I gotta do what's best for me, instead of these girls I'm talking to, instead of all this other stuff. And it's just a realization.
Yeah, and this song's a perfect setup for what I think is the best 4-song sequence in a row, back to back to back to back. Sets us up for track number 7, "Out of Time."
Oh my God.
Sets us up perfectly. I mean, I wrote down right away his vocals were literally top tier.
Definitely.
Top tier Weeknd vocals. I think the chorus definitely stuck out to me. "I can't keep you from loving him. You made up your mind."
Mm-hmm.
That definitely stuck out to me. Kind of control what you can control. There's only so much you can control, and a lot of people get tied up in stuff they can't control, and it drives them crazy. But I think he's finally starting to learn, and you kind of see this theme. I'll talk about it over and over. You got to focus on stuff you can control, and I think he's definitely starting to learn that as the album progresses.
Yeah, definitely. You hit spot on. I mean, that's pretty much what I had wrote down. One other thing I had wrote down, the reason why I feel like he got Quincy Jones on his album talk about that tale, because in the first verse he talks about his trauma as the trauma he had during his life, which I mean it kind of builds up what the song's kind of about, and how he focuses on things he can't control rather than focusing on himself. So I mean, you hit it spot on, and that Jim Carrey outro, like we mentioned earlier, was just hilarious. I absolutely love his voice, and I love how all of the commitment in his voice he puts into this album. It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah, and we thought that outro was the end of this song, but man, this was probably the standout moment of the whole album. This transition from "Out of Time." No.
One of the standouts.
This is one of them.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
This transition was flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Into "Here We Go Again," featuring Tyler the Creator, track number 8.
It flows like an actual radio station. That's what I love about it.
That's kind of the flow and the point,
the
of
concept
the
of
Darn
it,
FM,
yeah.
the whole concept's based off of the radio station, and you get Jim Carrey worked in to a lot of these songs. It's beautiful to kind of listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But we both kind of wrote down how reminiscent these lyrics were. What kind of took you back in these lyrics? What kind of things did you hear in this song that kind of made you think of old tracks from not even just The Weeknd, but even Tyler the Creator with his verse?
Well, I mean, in the first verse, like, I heard that Loft line and immediately thought of House of Balloons. There's a song, House of Balloons, called Loft Music, which is one of my favorite tracks from that album. And then right immediately after, he mentions Tyler's album he literally dropped last year, Call Me If You Get Lost, saying he's on a yacht. Like, that's what the whole like concept of Call Me If You Get Lost was. They're in Geneva, Switzerland, on a yacht, having hoes give him French vanilla ice cream, you know? That's what DJ Drama said. He fucking, you know, it's just amazing to see how far they grow. But obviously, Abel, I feel like, we kind of talked a lot about this last night, but there's not just one girl involved. I feel like this is the song that kind of introduces Abel's or The Weeknd's
This
second
new
love
girl,
interest.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this song kind of like states, you know, here we go again. I'm going to get my heart broken. That's what Abel's mentality is going into it. You know, like, he's still not fully over his previous girl. We're not going to name drop. We're just going to kind of say girl because we don't know for sure if it's these ones or not. But
you can definitely pick up on a new girl kind of being in the equation, and hence the title, Here We Go Again. Is he kind of falling for this new girl and kind of thinking back to his old relationship? Is he going to fall back into the same, you know, kind of shit he's been used to?
Or you could take it as like, here we go again. Am I going to fall back into my old ways?
Yeah.
There's so many ways you can take it.
Or both. I mean, you don't even know. I mean, it's just how you want to interpret it, and that's the beautiful thing that I learned about this album is you can find your own interpretations of it in multiple ways, and so many songs.
And a lot of his music's like this. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna dive into his old discographies after this, and
love to hear it.
I'm sure we'll review it down the road.
Definitely.
But now on to a song that kind of really didn't stick out to me originally when we first listened to it.
Yeah.
But now that I've listened to it a few more times today, is track number 9, Best Friends, and like we kind of talked about, these next 4 songs is kind of the transition from this old girl to the new girl, and here he's talking about. Well, first off, I want to state the tempo and the beat in this song was insane.
Immediately hit me. As soon as I heard it, I was like, yeah, this is a good song.
Yeah, this song's probably, as of right now, one of my favorites. I just love the tempo and the beat of this song.
Yeah, it's up there for me too. It's a great song.
I think it's the best beat on my level, and then conceptually, it's a really good song. But kind of lyrically focusing, you kind of get him talking about how he's kind of transitioning from lover to best friend with this past lover, and it's not really working out, and he's kind of all over the place in his mind. So kind of give your interpretations of what you think about this song.
I mean, yeah, I feel like he's talking about like this old girl and how he's best friends with her now. He can't really do the things he did in a relationship with your best friend. You can't, as he said in the pre-chorus, you can't have sex with them, or it's not like, you know, you can't have a platonic, you know, relationship with your best friend. It just won't be like that because someone will get hurt, someone will catch feelings. That's just how it is. And I mean, obviously the productions stand out. Like it's as soon as it hits you, as soon as like the end of verse when the beat drops, it hits you. It's a great production, very catchy melodies by Abel. I mean, that's all I really had. I didn't have much, surprisingly, but it's definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album.
And now I can finally say it. Got ahead of myself earlier, but this transition from Best Friends to track number 10, Is There Someone Else, was definitely the standout moment in our eyes.
From the whole album.
From the whole entire album.
Sonically, this fucking transition was amazing. And this is the song I heard in the trailer. As soon as I heard like that beat, I was instantly hooked, and I was looking for it as we were listening on the album.
And finally got it here, yeah.
As soon as it transitioned, I literally looked at Corey and I go, "That's the fucking song, dude."
Yeah, for sure. And you know, at the end of Best Friends, you thought the song was over, and we were kind of gonna flow into the next track. And out of nowhere, you kind of feel the song kind of pick up, and you can kind of hear it. And I'm kind of looking at the time on this track. I'm like, oh gosh, this transition is gonna be crazy. And
yep,
it literally was fucking crazy. Yeah, so right away, production was top tier, literally from the second the song started, because the transition was so smooth. But yeah, I wrote down here that he doesn't want loyalty, yet he doesn't want to be prisoned by his past experiences, and you kind of brought up kind of a reminiscent thing with his old track Prisoner from Beauty Beyond the Madness.
Oh yeah, that's one of them. There is another actually. There's a callback to one of my favorite songs from his 3 mixtape run. A song called Montreal, where he's talking about how he used to be the one who lied, and in that song in Montreal, what's the lyric? He talks about lying comes natural to him, and this is a huge sign of character growth. Like, it's just another thing that like fascinates me, how he finds ways to bring up his old songs and how he's grown since then, and how he really isn't looking on his past mistakes as like as bad as his album kind of like puts it out there. It's just him kind of like coming to terms with it. This whole album is like that, and it's amazing. Like,
Yeah, and the title, Is There Someone Else, kind of gives you that feel like, is there actually someone else in his life, a new kind of romantic connection out there. And really, I mean, tracks 7, 8, 9, and 10 were really, it was a perfect place to put this and right in the core of the album, because these were probably 4 of the better songs.
oh yeah, definitely. And like before we move on, talking more about like the song title, Is There Someone Else? We kind of like were talking about it. And with this new girl he's talking to, he's thinking like, is there someone else this girl's talking to instead of me? Or it could be talking about his old girl. Like, you know, it's just like
there's so much to think about, and you really don't even have an answer. It's just what you kind of conceive of the whole thing. But
yeah, definitely.
Now we're on to track number 11, Starry. Starry
Eyes. I'm pretty sure it's Starry. Yeah, Starry Eyes.
But yeah, there's consistent talk of him wanting to go back to his old ways. It's clear and evident in the lyrics.
Definitely.
Definitely one of the deeper songs I think he talks about in terms of lyrically. It's kind of a more mellow beat. Yeah. The production's kind of more mellow throughout the song, and he's kind of really diving in deep with the lyrics.
Yeah, and like one thing I was talking about, I get it's like it's 2 minutes, and the previous song was 3, but it feels kind of weird having it as an like interlude. I think it makes sense looking back on it, but I mean it continues the previous like beat a little bit, but it kind of sombers down. Yeah. But I feel like he wanted it to be an interlude so people would pay attention to this part, because this is like a big reflection moment.
Yeah, very crucial part of the concept of the whole album.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So on to track number 12, Every Angel is Terrifying. It kind of served as like an ad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like a radio ad to the whole album.
Originally I thought this was gonna build up like into an amazing song, and I have a lot to say about that, because, you know, like, you were anticipating like a crazy beat drop, then it goes immediately into an ad, right? Kind of like a radio station. But what the Weeknd I feel like is trying to say here is like, what is it? Yeah, it represents how Abel feels like when he puts something out, but he disappoints his fans. Yeah. Like, you know, like he keeps like trying to put stuff out there. I don't know what I was trying to say here, honestly. Like, I had something.
I don't have a lot to say about the song either. It's kind of got me at a loss for words, because I didn't really catch a whole lot conceptually to this song personally.
Yeah.
This is a song I've kind of, now that I've gone through it track by track, I've kind of just been focusing on the 7 through 11 track songs.
Yeah,
but kind of an album or a song on the album I would skip over personally. But
I feel like it's meant to be skipped. That's just how it is. It's like the ad cuts off that production.
Yeah.
And like the song title, Every Angel is Terrifying, he's talking about literally every concept, every girl, everything that he's had to deal with in his life. I feel like that's maybe what it's reaching on. That might be a reach, but I feel like that's what it's talking about.
Yeah, so getting on to track number 13, Don't Break My Heart. It was also another song where he just showed the versatility in his voice, I think. He really has a few songs that really stand out, where he can just switch flows and switch his voice, and really that's what makes him stand out as an artist, is him being able to kind of switch flows and just be so versatile with his voice.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it is a good song, a good album track. I think it's an album track
for the last few songs on the album. That's kind of what we talked about originally. It was a good build up to, you know, the next 2 tracks and then the outro. But
I personally think it might be my least favorite from the album in general.
Really?
I liked it, but like I said, it's an album track. Like it fits when you're listening to the album, but I feel like I wouldn't listen to it as a standalone song.
Yeah, I feel like we had the 4 songs in the middle there that were absolute heat, and then the next few songs were kind of like, you know, what's going on? It's kind of cooling off a little bit, and then you get these last 3 songs that are very good, or the last 2 songs in the outro that really kind of complete the whole album, the concept. So track number 14.
Oh shoot, I actually have one more thing to say before we move on.
Go for it.
Yeah, so Don't Break My Heart. He could be talking to like his new girl. I think he's talking to his new girl in general. Like, He doesn't want the same thing to happen with his old girl with this new girl.
Yeah.
But obviously, it ends up happening. It's out of his control. One minor gripe I have with After Hours and this album, it doesn't come like as often as it did in After Hours. It's the low pitched nasally Weeknd. So like I love the Weeknd's voice, right? I know everyone has to fucking love his voice. It's heavenly, but sometimes he has like this low pitched or his high pitched nasally voice. That's like I think you might have noticed it a little bit. I feel like when we listen to After Hours, you'll definitely notice it. It's a minor gripe of mine because personally, I love a lot of Abel's old music.
Yeah.
So like he really shows his voice in those old music, like that old music, his old albums, stuff like that. But I'm just not a big fan of it. I feel like if we listen to it again after, it'd be easy to see. But you know, that's like another thing on like why I don't like this track as much. It also kind of pops up in was it the third track in the album? How Do I Make You Love Me? Like he has like a higher pitched, really nasally voice.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work, but I don't personally like it myself.
Yeah, I think these last few songs that we've kind of broke down weren't meant to be your favorite songs. They kind of, I wouldn't say were the fillers, but they kind of are just meant to be there to kind of build up to conclude the album. And I think you got to have songs like that to get your point across. So
I don't think there's any filler tracks on this album. I feel like this album is conceptually perfect. Like it's every song has a meaning. Every song's put there for a reason, and that's why I really like this album in general.
Yeah, so track number 14, I Heard You're Married, featuring Wheezy F Baby, Lil Wayne.
Lighter flick.
Yeah, I didn't notice the lighter flick. Aaron had no idea who the features were. You knew Tyler the Creator.
Yeah,
right?
obviously.
And you knew Jim Carrey was in it.
Yeah.
He didn't know Lil Wayne was in it, but he noticed the lighter flick right away, and I didn't. But I knew Lil Wayne was in it because I'm a little snoop.
Yeah, it just shows how iconic Lil Wayne is, dude. Like he has that trademark, and you hear it, and it's like, oh, it's Lil Wayne. Like you know, you just know that.
I just missed it when we were first listening to it, but I hear it every time now. But,
yeah, definitely.
You gotta tell everyone what you said right away when the song started, or I can read it word for word what you said. You said,
"Oh, the Weeknd swagger."
The Weeknd swagger.
Yeah,
you just tell right away.
Do you want me to elaborate on that, or
go
like?
For it.
Well, as soon as I heard the like I can't even do it.
Ad-lib,
Yeah, no, literally, like when he said that, I was like, yeah, this is a Weeknd song. Like immediately, like I just knew it. I fucking love that. I love when he does that. Like it puts his trademark, just like Lil Wayne's lighter flick. When you hear that,
Yeah, you have both their trademarks in there.
Yeah, literally, it's amazing.
I think initial reaction, great song vocally. Again, one of his upper end vocal songs on the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a great production. You're gonna get that with any song Lil Wayne's in. Great production, great switch ups.
Or any song freaking Weeknd makes nowadays, dude. It's crazy how it works.
Yeah.
He finds a way to make a 80s themed disco album or stuff like that, a club album, without having it sound washed out, and that's very hard to do. Because Tory Lanez recently here dropped like a 80s themed album, and a lot of the sounds and a lot of the music was just completely washed out. But it works for the Weeknd because he has a concept behind every song. A lot of his 80s themed production is unique. It's not the same boom bap like stuff you hear in certain like songs. So that's why it's amazing.
Yeah, and another looming question throughout the whole album: who is he talking about? You kind of I mean, obviously the title "I Heard You're Married," like who is he referring to throughout the song? It's kind of unclear. I mean, you kind of can put your own conception of it on or perception of it, but
yeah. And one thing we were talking about is how like this song could just be like fitting into the concept of the album. Maybe none of these girls that he's dealt with in real life are married right now, and that could be it. But it's a weird track. There's a lot of like I wouldn't say controversy, but like backlash on Lil Wayne's verse.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you felt about his verse, and even Tyler. We didn't really talk about how you felt about Tyler the Creator verse on the last song. If you want to get into the features.
We'll do features. We'll talk about Tyler the Creator first. I liked it. I really did enjoy it, and I feel like people's expectations were set insanely high, including mine. I won't lie, because this is their first collaboration together, and I absolutely love Tyler the Creator almost as much as I love The Weeknd. So like, I was really hyped for to hear the song, and it's a more slower paced song.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone probably expected Tyler to just go in like he always does, and I think his verse was kind of more fitting into the way the song was being produced.
Yeah, and
and I liked it. I personally liked it.
Oh yeah, I definitely liked it. I don't think it's
kind of talked about how his cadences were
Yeah.
really clear and flawless, honestly.
And he always finds a way to do that in his music. I don't think it was a bad verse, but people are just, they had their expectations
They
set
were
so
so
high.
excited for it, and they
Yeah.
kind of felt let down. But I personally, I'm not a huge Tyler the Creator fan. I liked it.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
personally liked it. I thought it fit well with the song.
Yeah.
Kind of tell me about the Lil Wayne verse now, the Lil Wayne feature.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I absolutely love Lil Wayne's verse, but listening to it again, I've kind of, like, grown off it a little bit more. But, not because of, people don't like it at all, but they had a good point where it's, like, it doesn't really fit, Like, obviously, I feel like Weeknd just include Lil Wayne to have Lil Wayne on his album, because he had a great year last year with features, so, like, why not put Lil Wayne on the album? But, I mean, personally, I it's okay. Like, he has some good lines, including that no hubcap, that
I'm looking at that right now.
quadruple entendre, which is absolutely crazy. There's a lot of meanings. Like, that line itself was pretty good. I feel like that'd be a standout line for anyone. But I mean, overall, it was just Lil Wayne kind of doing his what's it called? Lil Wayne swagger, I guess.
Doing his thing.
Yeah, doing his thing. Like, that's it. That's what he does, and I can't really complain about that. So
yeah, I feel like he's always gonna produce on any verse he's given.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was my favorite Wayne verse by any means.
Oh yeah, no, he has a lot of good verses.
Not even close, but I mean,
especially just from last year. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, but it's definitely a great collaboration either way. Whether your expectations were met or not, I think this was a very solid song. Not my favorite song, but it's definitely a solid song.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Overall, especially with the Weeknd's vocals. I mean, the production and vocally, I think the Weeknd was excellent on this song.
Yes.
So track number 15, we're kind of winding down the album here. Less Than Zero. Kind of give me your thoughts on this song.
Yeah, so I noticed immediately the guitar. A guitar player I am, I'll notice a guitar in any song. I liked it. I like the acoustic guitar. I feel like since this technically acts as like the last song in the album, like an outro track almost, it symbolizes like the rising of the sun, the ending of like this little morning period. Now we're going like the dawn, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed when I heard like this upbeat, kind of more happier song. But I'm gonna have to look at the lyrics obviously to kind of like see what he's talking about, because I don't remember the song too well, but I do remember liking it.
The lyric that stood out to me the most, he talks about his darkest truth. He says, what's the darkest truth? Like, we don't really know.
I'll be honest, originally when I heard like, I kind of like her darkest truth, I was like, oh shit, he cheated on one of his previous exes, and that's like, they're gonna be like the climax of the album, something like that. But we don't know. I mean, it could just be like a line referencing his old ways. It could just be a line just to be like a line, like.
Do you think it could be a line kind of setting us up for another album down the road, or what do you think? I mean,
I don't know. I feel like this album it like has a good resolution to like this 80s theme stuff, and like this story that After Hours and On FM kind of created. I feel like it's a good resolution. He found solace in his life. Like, I mean, we'll talk about it once we get to Jim Carrey's last track, but
yeah,
I feel like that's what he's found.
And I did write down for you. By the way, we were listening to this album last night, and our fucking power went out like on the 4th track. Aaron's got the lyrics pulled up on his phone, and his phone's dead. So we transitioned to my phone. My phone barely made it to the end of the album, but we got through it.
And nothing was stopping us last night, dude.
Fuck no.
Like, the power went. You know what would have been crazy? During that beat transition from Best Friends, Is There Someone Else? If the power just went out.
I would have cried.
That would have been crazy. I would have screamed. I would have woke up the whole house.
Yeah, I was writing stuff down for him last time when his phone died, but you mentioned you thought this sounded like dawn approaching.
Yeah, I already like kind of elaborated on that. I mean, that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I like how it's placed at the end of the album for a reason. The like lyrics, it's basically him just kind of like, in the chorus, because I can't get it out of my head. No, I can't shake this feeling that crawls in my bed. Stuff like that. Those lyrics, he's still, like, kind of worrying about his old ways, and how he could return to his old ways if he doesn't find, like, heaven in himself, which Jim Carrey literally says last track. So, like, it's kind of like like the climax in a way still. Yeah. Even though it's still one of the last tracks of the album, it's still a climax,
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. The last track of the album, Phantom Regret by Jim.
Yes, sir.
pretty much headlining Jim Carrey the whole time.
What was the first thing we talked about in the song? Like, Jim Carrey is what?
He's got fucking bars. The flow,
Dude.
he had low key like a hyped flow to it. I was kind of like bopping my head, and there was nothing to bop your head to.
Yeah, literally, no.
Him just speaking, but you can hear the rhymes, and I don't know. I loved it.
It's some nice poetry. It's like, it isn't slam poetry at all, but it's poetry. That's what it is. It's beautiful.
I definitely think the line that stuck out to me the most was kind of at the end. You got to be heaven to see heaven,
And that
may
is
be with you.
Yeah. That line literally just sums up the whole album and the resolution. That one line. It's absolutely insane how it does that, how it just ends like right there. And when he says you got to be heaven to see heaven, it means you have to come to terms with your past, like your past self and the things you can't control if you want to go to heaven. Like, that's just how it is. If you want to find solace, if you want to find peace with yourself and your future, you have to literally be heaven.
Yeah, I kind of took it as you can't see the future until you let go of the past.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think there's a better way to say that. I mean, you kind of see this theme throughout the whole entire album, and it's concluded perfectly here with the Jim Carrey outro.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
you got to control what you can control, and until you do that, you're not going to move forward with anything in life.
Yep. And like, there's this thing going around, like people talking about this album being like a spiritual trip. So like, it's kind of just the Weeknd. Let's say, I don't know like what exactly it all is. I know some people talked about it. This whole album's a spiritual trip. This is like the resolution to that. Like, I don't know if it's like the Weeknd died in gasoline and was going through a trip.
I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. I mean, but there's just so many ways you could take it. That's the beauty of music. So
that's the beauty of him, and I'm slowly starting to figure that out. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm definitely going to go back and look at his older albums, just go through his whole discography, and we'll probably end up coming back to him sooner than later.
Definitely.
Talking about some of his older albums. So
definitely. And that'll be very interesting to do.
So overall, I mean, what were your kind of standouts, your takeaways from this album?
All right, well, let me look at the track list then. I feel like that'll help. Even though I've listened to the album like 10 times now. But, yeah, so standout tracks for me. Let's say we'll do Gasoline, Out of Time, Here We Go Again, Best Friends, and Is There Someone Else? So literally that 4-track run in Gasoline. Those are my 5 favorites from the album.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably right there with you.
Yep.
I really like that 4-track run.
I would put Take My Breath in place of Gasoline, but Gasoline's a new track. Like I like it a lot.
Yeah, Take My Breath was new to me, so I'll probably put that in. If we're doing a top 5, I'd say Take My Breath, Out of Time, Here We Go Again, and then Best Friends, and Is There Someone Else? That'd probably be my top 5 if I had to pick 5.
Yeah, like in no order. Like I don't think I can rank them right now yet, but
it's too early to rank them. But
definitely,
I could probably definitely narrow it down to 5. But yeah.
What about some like tracks you just didn't like from the album? Like let's say 2 of them, because I feel like we liked a lot of tracks from the album. Just some you didn't like as much as the others.
I feel like Every Angel is terrifying, and Don't Break My Heart were just 2 songs that, like I said, they're not filler songs, but they just didn't really serve to me that like any like intriguing.
Yeah, like you won't listen to like those by themselves, you know.
And I get why he has those there where he has them. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's placed perfectly and conceptually it fits in perfectly. But
I think I'm right there with you. I mean, I still like Don't Break My Heart. I still kind of like Every Angel is Terrifying. I like the idea behind that track, but they're just not songs I'll listen to.
I'm just listening to the song and I'm not diving into it lyrically. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to the song.
Yeah, definitely.
Over that 4-track run.
Definitely,
personally.
but they're interesting placements and they provide context and concepts to the album. So
yeah, for sure.
Every track's important here. Like there's no track I would get rid of. If you got rid of, I feel like one track, something wouldn't be right. You know.
Yeah. So I wouldn't eliminate that by any means.
Yeah.
So overall, I think. You've got me. I'm not hooked, but I'm definitely
The
Weeknd, man. I mean,
let's go.
I was excited to do this because I knew this was gonna be our first topic and our first
definitely.
podcast.
And it's gonna like have a place in our hearts now because it's our first podcast.
The first one, so
talk about the Weeknd, man.
It's definitely gonna go down as one I'll remember. But
definitely,
guys, thank you guys for listening. This was very fun, and being able to talk about this stuff and kind of dive into music on a deeper level is something we've talked about doing for a while, and we're glad to kind of bring it to the new year and do it for you guys. We hope. I mean, obviously, we're starting from scratch. We're literally sitting in Aaron's room right now at a fucking dinner table.
TV
like
tray.
A TV tray.
The mic's being like
We've got a
upraised.
Off-brand mic or whatever you want to call it.
It's not an off-brand. That's a Razer mic, bro. Come on.
Just let it be. But yeah, we're starting this from scratch, and hopefully we can make something out of this, and not even just reach out to you guys and build a fan base, but even expand on our music. Because like we talked about, this is a new listen for me personally, outside of some of the Weeknd's mainstream tracks in the past.
Definitely.
And we're definitely gonna do more kind of cross-genre stuff with hip hop and R&B and all sorts of stuff. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, Corey nailed it. Like that's what we want. We want to expand our music, definitely build a good fan base, and have good communication with everyone that follows us and all that sort of stuff. And definitely just want to talk about music, like, you know, kind of expand our music taste, our knowledge, and kind of listen to music in a way not a lot of people do. And I really like that. So, I mean, that's all I got. If you want to kind of lead us on an outro, you're glad to do that.
Again, thank you guys for listening, whoever this reaches. And we're excited to really start this podcast up. It's gonna we're gonna put a lot of effort into this, a lot of time into this. So it's gonna be fun to see where this takes us in the next year. And yeah, thank you guys again. We'll see you back next week for the second episode of the AC Unit. Thank you.
Have a good one.